There are negative and disruptive sales reps that have low numbers. And then there are negative and disruptive sales reps that are actually hitting quotas. You need to know the difference. There's only two ways to judge a salesperson. The first is their attitude. Do they have a can-do attitude? Are they growth-minded? Do they want to learn? And are they a positive influence inside the organization? And the second way, are they hitting their numbers? Are they hitting their quotas? Those are the only two qualities I look for when I'm going to sit down with a sales rep and listen to what they have to tell me about what's going on inside of my organization. A negative and disruptive sales rep is someone who is not in core alignment with the organization's goals. They are not a positive cheerleader of change. They are not assisting the organization's focus on what the goals are. Typically, they are hurting and distracting from it. They typically question the types of leads we have. They will question the strategy, the pricing, the clients, the prospect. They question everything. Well, why would we sell it this way? Why at this price? So-and-so competitor sells it for cheaper and they do a better job. These are the types of things you're going to hear from them. They will always blame everyone else and complain about everything. The reason why they are blaming everybody else and complaining is because they are missing their own numbers. God forbid this person ever actually takes some real accountability or takes some stock into what they can control, what they need to do. It's never their fault. So when someone is negative, typically that leads to or stems from them not hitting their own numbers. When somebody is missing numbers and they are negative, I don't see a reason to keep them around. I would pull them into my office, sit them down, and have a very frank and candid conversation. These conversations don't start with me posing questions. Rather, the conversation usually starts by me letting them know what I know to be true and what I see. And from there, I set my expectations of what I want. I'm having this conversation to find a level of alignment and to reframe what the direction of the company is for this person. I simply ask them, are you aligned with the goals and are they your goals as well? And then secondly, can you adhere to these sorts of subjective standards and have core values alignment? Can you be a positive influence on the sales team? If these two questions are not answered with a resounding yes, that means it's time to transition this individual out of the organization. A negative and disruptive sales rep in your team is hurting the rest of the organization. When other individuals come to work and they try to hit their goals and they're trying to maintain a positive mental attitude, and yet they're sitting next to some individual who's complaining about everything, it actually hurts them as well. When you pull this person into your office and you ask them if they're aligned with the company's goals and they do respond with a resounding yes, absolutely, my mistake, I apologize, I'm bought in, I'm committed to hitting these goals, then from there, you put them on a performance improvement plan. You tell them this is what needs to be true over the next 30, 60, 90 days in order for you to be able to maintain your employment here. You need to have core values alignment. You need to be a positive member of the sales team and start hitting these KPIs and these goals. These are your numbers, period. This is how you deal with this individual. The second type of disruptive sales rep is an individual who is hitting their numbers. So now you have an individual who is simply disenfranchised with the sales team culture. They're potentially not bought in, and they're not enjoying being around other individuals, but they are hitting their numbers and they're hitting their quotas. That is not a typical situation. So the first thing I always want to look at is, how can somebody hate their job but still be good at it? Then I want to look at, potentially their quotas are just too low. Maybe it's just a very low bar to clear. Assuming that's the case, that's a quick fix. However, let's say that's not what it is. In that situation, I'm going to want to sit down with this person and have a very frank conversation. People who are hitting their goals are individuals I want to hear from. These are the people that I want to speak to and ask, hey, what's going on? You're clearly a valued member of this team, but your attitude is not what we need it to be. From there, I would want to know, what can I do to put this person in best self? See, when somebody is good and they're hitting their numbers and their metrics, that is an individual I want to invest in. That is somebody I want to work with because I want to figure out if this person is in a bad place in their life. Is there a misunderstanding which is causing them to work in a particular way? Or maybe they simply have a coworker who constantly puts them in a bad mood, who constantly gasses them up or puts negative thoughts in their head. And that could be intentional or unintentional. This could be someone like from the first example who we have already dealt with. But I would want to figure out what's going on with some of my top performers that's making them negative, and how can I transition them from being negative into a positive influence into the organization. It is important to get to the root cause because you need to figure out why this person is dissatisfied or acting negatively, because it's only a countdown to when they start missing their goals and you lose this individual. A sales rep that's hitting their numbers and their quota is not somebody to be taken for granted and not somebody I want to lose. So when you have somebody like this and that's trending off a cliff, it is your responsibility as their leader to step in and correct course. Constantly missed quotas and consistent poor and negative attitudes set a bad precedence for everybody else in the organization. Missed quotas and negative attitudes are very contagious, like a sickness. Once one person has it, it can spread like crazy, even to your top performers. They may just start taking their foot off the pedal. It's important that your team is filled with people who are positive, growth-minded, and welcome new challenges that face the organization.